this research. The focus of my qualitative paper will be the African American male undergraduate admission and graduation experience. Specifically, my research questions will be: what are the family and community supports that African American males have that facilitate college admission? Also, what personal skills do African American males develop that aid in college graduation? Mm-hmm. All right, so it's, it's going to be an unstructured interview, so feel free to just speak freely, and I may ask a couple follow-up questions, and that'll be it.
I'm all yours.
All right, so when did you first know you wanted to attend college?
I was 12 years old. When I knew I wanted to first go to college, I went with my mom and her best friend about 90 minutes outside of New York City to the State University of New York, college at New Paltz. I went there because my godbrother, he was actually a theater major, and he was playing the leading role in Raisin in the Sun. He was playing the character of Walter Lee, so I got a chance to go up with my mom and his mom to see the play and, obviously see the campus, and everything that he did, I was admired by everything that he did. Everything that he touched turned to platinum for me, so obviously I wanted to walk in his footsteps. So it was great because it was just real quiet. It was, the area was definitely different than it was in New York City, growing up. I mean, it was just quiet. They had grass and mountains and huge lake right in the middle of the campus. And I knew that I wanted to do that because I went to summer camp a couple years before when I was 9. So at the age of 12, going there, it was like a camp type of environment. And after we left there, he gave my mom and I, he gave us a mug, and it said, it was just a mug. It said the college's name on it and had the history of the college. So from the ages of 12 to 18, I was able to essentially study that cup because it sat there in my kitchen. And I knew that the college was founded in 1848. I knew the college's mission, that it was to learn, to search, to serve. It was originally founded as a school for educators. And I knew that my godbrother Kia went there, so I wanted to do everything that he did. So that's when I first knew, when I was 12 years old. That was around 1985.
Okay. So you pretty much locked in on New Paltz at that point.
Yeah, I couldn't, I kind of imagined myself at other places, but that was like my dream college, if you will, because that was the one that I actually had an experience with, going there, meeting people, just the smells, just the proximity from the city. Like, it was the most appropriate one for me.
Okay. So talk a little bit about your relationship with your godbrother, because obviously that was instrumental in your decision. So talk a little bit about your relationship with him, particularly as it relates to like New Paltz and maybe going on additional visits or.
Sure. Well, he was, 6, 7 years my senior, but we had just a lot of similarities that we were both the youngest child of our families. He was the youngest of 7 children, and I was the youngest of 3. I never really spoke to him directly about his experiences at the university, but I used to listen to my mom talk to his mom about the different escapades he used to get involved in. He had pledged a fraternity up there, and his mom would call my mom and be in total outrage of some of the things that she found out that he was doing. So I kind of lived vicariously through those conversations that I eavesdropped on. So.
Okay. So talk to me about your college application process. So now you're a junior, senior, and I guess were you looking at any other schools or?
I had a couple other schools there. One of the things I wanted to do is, one of my aspirations was to play AAA baseball. I wanted to potentially be a professional baseball player. One of the places I wanted to go was actually, ironically, was to Virginia, because I know in Tidewater, Virginia, that was the farm for the New York Mets team, and I wanted to do that, and that was something that I had spoke to my mom about. It was something that she supported, but in 1989, I lost my mom to diabetes, and I was just in a situation where I had to become an adult, and I had to make adult decisions like really quickly. The next summer, which was 1990, I was a junior And that's when that whole college process started. I met a gentleman that he worked with me over the summertime. I worked at a mailroom for Jive RCA Records, and I used to deliver messages, and then in between delivering messages, I would wrap boxes, the actual packages that we would either mail out or carry out as messengers. And when I came back that second summer, the staff there, they knew that the previous summer I had lost my mother. And it was this man that I'll never forget, you know, this older African-American man. He was in his early to mid-50s, and his name was Major Little. It's like an oxymoron, you know, his name, you know, it's Major Little. And, you know, he just was like 6'3" and tall, and he had these black and gray Jerry curls that came down his back. And I never knew him before, but one of my colleagues had shared that I lost my mom, and he approached me and he gave me his condolences, and he told me that he asked me rather, did I ever hear about a program called the Educational Opportunity Program, or the EOP program? And I said, no, I never heard of it before. And he just sat me down and told me everything about it. He told me that it would essentially pay all of my tuition, pay for my room and board, pay for my books, and actually pay me to go. And so I was just taken aback with that. I you know, sometimes when some folks actually, you know, tell you something that's so good, you have to ask them to repeat it because you don't believe them. It was one of those type of situations, and he told me again, and he says, man, I'm not lying to you, Mike. He says, you know, all of these things are true. He says, actually, his daughter was a recipient. She had went to Cornell in Ithaca, and she was on the same program, and so he had a story there. So he told me to go to my guidance counselor and think about what schools I wanted to go to, and let that guidance counselor know. And he also told me that they would waiver the application fees. So that was even that much better. So I met with my guidance counselor and took everything that I needed to take, you know, some of them critical paperwork, which was like a death certificate from my mother, and, you know, this proof, and, you know, met with my guidance counselor, Brother Peter, and was able to apply. I applied to 8 colleges. You know, I applied to 8 colleges. And
how many did you get in?
8.
Oh, yeah.
I got into all 8 of them. So the one that I was waiting for was New Paltz. And, you know, a couple of them gave me that free ride, but New Paltz was the one that I got accepted about 2 community colleges. The other 6 were all 4-year schools. And once I remember when I got that letter from New Paltz that came in the mail, man, and it was like this big envelope, so I knew that it was some positive things in there. I didn't think that they would waste that much paper to reject me. But once I ripped it open and saw it, man, I like literally fell to my knees and just started crying. It was just myself alone, and I just was just thanking God for that opportunity, because it changed my life. And you know, it was just one of those positive affirmations to me. And, you know, this is law of attraction. You think about something and you see yourself doing it, and you'll get it. And that was definitely one of those moments where I was able to achieve my goal.
Do you know any of like the other criteria for the EOP? Like, obviously, I'm sure there's a financial guideline, or, you know, you had to fall within, but were there any other criteria?
Yeah, well, you had to be disenfranchised, so you basically had to have come from a low-income family situation, and but have the potential to be successful within the program academically. So although you know, I didn't have parents to support me, although, you know, my income was like 0, you know, my academics was definitely enough to get me to sit at the table. I wasn't the brightest of the gang, but I could maintain my own, and I was able to illustrate my passion for education through my letter of acceptance. That was like the most critical point right there, because it gives you an opportunity to sell yourself and let folks see you outside of the grades. So that letter is definitely critical, and I think that I was able to connect with those admissions folks at all of those institutions by sharing my story with them.
Okay. So, and just one more follow-up. So Major Little, he worked at your job with you. He was, I mean, he was employed at the same place you were.
Yeah, he was, you know, well, we were there with Jive RCA Records, which is a major record label. It's owned by BMG, Bertelsmann Music Group. And actually, and this is ironic, because Major, he was actually an engineer, like a recording engineer. So he did tracks on James Brown, Michael Jackson, and for whatever reason, they were actually doing some construction on the studio where he worked. So he couldn't have access to that, so he needed to come to work in the mailroom. He was deployed there for 1 week, and ironically that he came, our paths crossed at that time just for 1 week. You know, this is somebody just kind of came in my life, heard about my story, put me on to something, and just kept it moving. So it's really, you know, those relationships that you have with people, I mean, you know, that's God. And it's like you can't, you know, He brings people in your life for certain situations, and you know, it's up to you to maximize on those messages. And I definitely think that he was a blessing. Somebody that I met for, you know, a total of a week that I'm still talking about 20, 30 years from now. It was amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And was that a summer job?
Yes.
Summer job, okay. I mean, so once again, by you staying occupied and busy and doing something led to another opportunity. You know, I think that's a good thing to pass on to youth as well.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that I used to do pretty regularly growing up in Brooklyn was looking out of my window. I lived on the 11th floor, and I would look out the window, and just like this, every home, every building, every organization has a window, and I would look out of the window, and I would always just kind of imagine, you know, what type of life that I want for myself. And, you know, living in the inner city, you can see all types of things happening outside of your window. You know, people using drugs and drinking 40 ounces of beer at 9 a.m. in the morning, people having fights, getting robbed, stabbed, shot, you know, just being a witness out of all of this in my window. I actually saw a young man that I grew up with, you know, actually get shot and killed 4 times right outside of my window. And, you know, just a couple of days before that, him and I were like joking and singing rap songs on the way home from the train together. And so looking out that window, I was able to like imagine the life for myself that I wanted, and you know, just to really be able to just put my thoughts out there and just kind of get lost in my future and really kind of map it out. So that was very, you know, just allowed me that space to do that. And once I was able to, you know, work at Job RCA, again, I was able to have a job, be gainfully employed, meet different producers and different rap artists, and just bumping into people, and just being in New York during the 80s, 90s. You meet different people, and you know, when people connect with you or they see some potential as a young man, they want to tell you what you can do or what they imagine for you. It just so happened for me, a lot of their visions, it aligned with what I was thinking for myself when I was looking out of that window.
Okay. So what are some of the skills you developed that kept you focused throughout your college years?
One of the skills, I mean, one of the things that it was even beyond college, but it kind of helped me through college was just rapping, man. I mean, it was definitely something that was very therapeutic for me growing up in the city, but it was also something that I did in college. It was a way to connect with other people. I didn't pledge a fraternity, but because of myself, Ram, and a lot of people who were in different fraternities was able to get together, and we was, you know, on that one common cause, and that was just to spit some lyrics and, you know, to see who could shine, who could sound a little slicker than the next person. So that was really one of the things that I did that kind of carried over, that really helped. And I really didn't know how therapeutic that actually was until, you know, that phase of my life was over.
Do you think that you had good like study habits from your high school experience, or were there other things that happened at New Paltz that, you know, help you build on your study habits?
For sure. Well, the one thing when you make that transition, what I think a lot of folks don't tell students about is that the same way you study in high school, you can't study like that and be successful in college. So you have to really integrate a level of interdependence. So meeting somebody that's raising their hand in class, that's getting an A on top of their papers, you know, you have to get out of your comfort zone and ask those individuals like, hey, can I study with you? Right? And you know, and sometimes those people who are getting A's and that are successful, you know, they don't look like you.